And we continue transferring the Adventure Travel Show podcast under the umbrella of the Active Travel Adventures podcast. Today we're going to be talking footwear, hiking footwear. We're going to look at hiking boots versus hiking shoes versus trail runners to see which is the right gear for you. Gear is expensive. You don't want to make a mistake. I can't wait to share this episode with you, so let's get started. Going into an outfitter to buy new hiking boots or shoes can give you a migraine. You'll see footwear labeled not just hiking boots or shoes, but also trail runners, ultralight boots, cross trainers, hiking sandals, and walking boots, to name a few. In the hiking boot versus shoe battle, how do you determine which is the best hiking shoe for you and your feet? That's what we'll be discussing today. Welcome to the Adventure Travel Show podcast. I'm your host, Kit Parks, and that's what we're going to be working on today. We're going to try to figure out what is the best footwear for us to wear for our different hiking adventures. And we not only have to worry about the type of shoe, we got to consider the prices too, because the prices run the gamut as well, and they can get really up there. So it's not something you want to make a boo-boo on. The answer to what to wear, and you knew this was coming, is it depends. We're going to look at the different features, and then you can compare what the different features do for you against the general environment you'll be hiking in. But regardless of the charts and the information that we're going to discuss today, and I'll have all this on the website at adventuretravelshowpodcast.com/shoes, the key feature of any hiking shoe is comfort. Every manufacturer's mold is different. Some have wider widths than others, and so my own size 8 in one brand might feel great, but aren't going to give me nearly enough toe room or width in another brand. If your budget permits, you might want to buy a couple different boots or shoes so that you have the right gear for whatever your individual hike is going to be. For example, I use my Vasque, I'm not sure how you're supposed to say it, my Vasque boots whenever I'm doing any serious hiking or on some challenging terrain. But if the trails are well maintained, I'm usually going to opt for my Merrell hiking shoes. Later on this month, I'm heading on a rafting and hiking trip in Idaho. And so for that trip, I'm just going to be packing my hiking sandals that have a toe guard so I can use them both as my water shoe and my hiking shoe. So in deciding what we're going to wear, we need to actually consider a couple different things. Let's look at the different types first. Number 1, the heavy hiking boot. Backcountry trailblazers should consider a heavy boot if your hike is going to include some large bouldering and bushwhacking. The heavy hiking boots are going to have some serious tractions on the sole, and they'll sometimes even have a crampon-like tip. These boots are heavy, not just to hike in, but they're also heavy on the wallet. Often they're made of leather, and they will require a sizable breaking-in period. But once they've molded to your feet, they're going to protect your feet in all sorts of difficult terrain. But you can expect some blisters, especially in the beginning. A heavy hiking boot is going to offer you some excellent ankle support, and their good grip is an asset on steep slopes and boulders. Plus, a heavy hiking boot is going to last the longest of all the hiking footwear. Mud, snow, and water will slough off these boots the best. And they're warmer if you're going to be hiking in cold climates than a hiking shoe would be. Hiking boots also provide the best ankle and underfoot support, but they're going to feel weighty and clunky compared to the other options. The more rocks and debris you hike on, the more you're going to appreciate wearing a hiking boot. However, depending on the material, they can take a long time to dry out. Leather, it seems to take forever. They're also the hardest to pack. I've got some mid-weight boots that I'm bringing on an upcoming trip, and I'm going to have to wear them on the plane, otherwise they take up half my suitcase. So you know I'm going to look très chic on that plane, right? And if you hike in rainy or snowy conditions, a boot's going to be preferable because their high tops combined with waterproof hiking pants can keep the water out of your boots. And the higher ankle coverage can also be helpful when hiking among briars and other off-trail treats that can cut you up and bruise you. You can also get a waterproof boot. Some hiking footwear has Gore-Tex in it, which makes the boot waterproof. It's great if you're crossing puddles and streams, but they don't breathe as well, so they can make your feet sweat. I personally prefer to have my feet breathe. I swear they have lungs. So I don't do these, but other people swear by them. So again, this is going to be down to the comfort. What do your feet like? So next on the list after the heavy hiking boot is the mid-weight boot, like the kind I mentioned I'm bringing on my upcoming hike. This is my go-to when I'm going to be on a serious mountain. I don't do the heavy rock climbing, mountainy kind of things. So for what I consider a difficult hike and the kinds that we cover on this show at the 4 and 5 level, where they're hard and challenging, but not everestly hard, this is usually a suitable shoe. But I consider these my backpacking boots. So my boots have stiff soles, they cover the ankle for a little bit more support. You can get them either in synthetic materials, which is lighter and breathe better, which is what I choose, or leather. But they're still heavy, and you're going to feel the weight of them at the end of a long hiking day. And I would suggest you break these in at least a few days before taking them on a long hike, just to be on the safe side. If you're hiking in shallow slush, some snow, some small puddles or streams, choosing a waterproof boot is going to keep your feet drier than with the shoes. And the boot's also going to provide you with a tad more protection if you're hiking in snake territory. Plus, you're less likely to get pebbles in your boot than if you're wearing a shoe. Although you can put some gaiters on, which are these little cloth cover things that can cover over your shoes to help keep debris out of your shoes. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. At the top of your boot, there's going to be a metal lacing hook that allows you to tighten your shoelaces even further for more strength and stability if you head on some really challenging terrain. So we've covered the boots. Another thing people are starting to see more and more on the trail are trail running shoes. These offer usually a little bit more ankle support than a hiking shoe because people are actually running on the trails over rocks and root-strewn trails with them. You're going to find a little bit more padding and a sturdier sole than a regular trail shoe. My recommendations after my research is only buy these if you plan to actually run on the trails because they work great for running, but they're really not designed for actual hiking, and so actually they won't work quite as well for you. A trail running shoe should feel great as soon as you put them on. So unless you're actually running and you don't want something so heavy, then you want to look at getting a trail shoe or a hiking shoe. These have thicker soles than traditional running shoes, but they're lighter and more comfortable than boots. And make sure that you're actually buying a trail shoe and not just some fashion shoe that looks like one. Otherwise, you might find that on the quote-unquote fashion one, that the stitches and the soles are not going to hold up to the terrain and the job that you're going to be giving them. And like the trail running shoes, these should feel great as soon as you put them on. You're going to find trail shoes cooler in warm weather, as will you also with the trail runners and hiking sandals. And trail shoes and hiking shoes have more flexible soles, so they bend more, making it easier if you're trying to rock hop across a stream. And the last choice is hiking sandals. This is what I'm taking on my rafting trip. They're lightweight, they're great for water crossings, they let your feet breathe. However, you're going to get some rocks and some small sticks in them, so you're going to have to pause to remove them more often. Make sure you get one with a toe guard, and don't even think about wearing hiking sandals if you're climbing a scree-strewn hill. You're going to go nuts trying to get those pebbles out. Some questions to ask yourself before buying a hiking boot or shoe. Number 1, are you a hiking newbie? If you're just learning to hike and your eyes and your feet haven't yet developed great natural foot placement, consider getting a hiking shoe with a sturdier sole than you might normally need. This might help your ankles until you get your eye-foot coordination going where you don't even have to think about it. Your foot just knows right where to go when it sees the terrain. Number 2, consider the trail terrain that you think you're going to be hiking on. The smoother, more well-maintained the trails, the less important the sturdiness of the sole is. If you're going to be crossing shallow creeks, you might want to consider a waterproof one. Or if you do like I do, get a breathable hiking shoe, and they dry out pretty quickly. Number 3, ankle strength. You got to consider your ankle strength. The weaker your ankles, the stronger ankle support you're going to need. If you have ever sprained your ankle, even as a kid, unfortunately, it's always going to be a little bit weaker than you'd like it to be. So you're better off stepping up your ankle support. On the Adventure Travel Show podcast number 1, we talk about what to do if you do sprain your ankle in the wild, and I've got a video that I'll be posting on this site as well of how to test your ankle strength on your own. The 4th thing you want to think about is the pack weight. Are you going to be carrying a light day pack, or are you going to be doing some heavy-duty backpacking? If you're going to be carrying significant weight, you need the added strength and support of a heavier boot. Number 5, how long are you going to be out in the trail? If you're going to be hiking all day long, you've got 2 things to consider. The first one is weight. The sturdier the hiking boot or shoe, the more it's going to weigh. So at the end of the day, your feet are going to feel like lead weights. I've read that the weight on your feet takes 4 to 6 times the energy to lift than the same weight on your back. So for example, let's say your boot weighs 2.5 pounds, but your shoes weigh a pound. Then your boots are going to feel like you're carrying an extra 6 to 9 pounds on your back compared to just the shoes. Ouch! However, at the end of the day, you're going to be tired and you're going to tend to make more mistakes, such as not lifting your feet high enough. That extra ankle strength is going to come in handy. So you're going to be trading off the heavy weight of the shoes that are going to make your feet feel like lead with the strength that you get if you do make the mistake at the end of the day. It's going to give you that little bit of extra support that could make the difference between twisting your ankle or not. So again, it's going to depend, and it's a trade-off. The sixth thing we want to consider is our hiking pace. If you are truly trail running, you simply cannot do this in a boot. Plus, you're going to need the lighter weight for speed. Some trail runners have a grippy rubber compound that helps your feet stick better on wet rocks and roots. And the final thing you want to think about is, how long do you want your shoes to last? Most trail shoes and runners are going to give you about 500 miles of service. However, a good pair of sturdy boots might give you 1,000 miles. So let's go through this one more time. Hiking newbies want to beef up their ankle support. Number 2, you want to consider the terrain. The heavier the terrain, the sturdier the boot. Number 3, consider your ankle strength. What is your particular ankle strength? You can do the test on the website. Number 4, consider your pack weight. The more weight, the sturdier the boot. How long you're going to be out in the trail. There's the trade-off between the weight of the boot versus the strength of the ankle support, depending on how tired you're going to be at the end of the day. And you want to, number 6, look at your hiking pace. If you need to go fast, you need to go light. And finally, number 7, how long do you want them to last? Your hiking boots or shoes are an investment. Okay, now let's look at what kind of fit you should get out of your hiking boot or your hiking shoe. Number 1, whatever hiking footwear you choose, it should feel snug but not tight. Remember that your feet are going to swell as the day goes on, so some even recommend, if in doubt, go up a half a size. You know, some people say, oh, I get a size bigger. Don't do that, because your foot's going to slosh around too much in the shoe. And if your shoe is too loose, you're more prone to twisting your ankle, and you're not going to have enough ankle support. So it should be snug, but not tight and not too loose. Number 2, your toes should not be all the way to the top of the shoe unless you're planning on losing all of your toenails whenever you descend down a mountain. And that happened to my mother. Not fun. It's been 30 years and she still has misformed toenails from that. And while we're talking about the 2, keep your toenails clipped when you're going to go hiking. Number 3, every manufacturer uses a different mold. Does the shoe of a particular manufacturer give your particular arches the proper support? Are they wide enough? Do they cradle your heel comfortably? Can you wiggle your toes around? Do you have plenty of room for your toes to move around? A good outfitter will have some place in the store that you can practice the ascents and descents so you can see whether or not your toes are being jammed in the front when you're going downhill. You don't want to be like my mom and lose your toenails going down because there's just not enough room for your toes. So you want to wear them in the store or at home if you're shopping online for at least 30 to 60 minutes. And wear them with the socks you plan to use with them. Like I said, a good outfitter is going to have a practice hill somewhere in the store that you can practice going up and down. Take advantage of it. Try rolling your foot to the side. See, how does it feel? Is there any stitching that's rubbing you the wrong way? If it's bugging you in the store, it's going to really bug you on the trail. At the end of the day, if your feet aren't happy, you're not happy. Number 5, speaking of happy feet, many people swear by the happy feet inserts. Consider buying a quality insert and then try them on together. With the inserts, when your shoes get wet, you can remove the inserts and air the 2 out separately, and they should dry quicker. Number 6, consider the brand. I have favorite brands that work well with my feet. Yet sometimes when a manufacturer comes out with a new edition, the new shoe doesn't work quite as well for me as the old. So whenever I find a pair that I really like, or if I love them, I'll go back and buy a second pair for that very reason. So when the first one wears out, I know I've got a winner. So even though I have certain brands that my feet like, there's still some variances within that brand. And since hiking footwear is one of the most important outdoor gear purchases that we make, it pays to try on the different brands to find the shoe that works best for your feet. Currently, I'm wearing the Vasquez hiking boots and the Merrell hiking shoes and Chaka's hiking sandals. And I'm choosing what to wear depending on the terrain I'm going to be hiking in and I try to go with the lightest weight shoe that will best protect my feet and my ankles for my adventure. The seventh consideration, of course, is quality. Good hiking boots and good hiking shoes are important, and I wouldn't necessarily buy cheap hiking boots. You want to look for quality stitching and materials. Wait for a sale. There's almost everything goes on sale at least once during the year, and get the best quality hiking shoes you can rather than buying cheap hiking shoes. So hiking shoes versus hiking boots. To me, the best trail boot depends on what I'm going to be doing and where. I got to think about how portable do I need my footwear to be if I'm traveling. Lots of people love waterproof walking boots, but I personally prefer the synthetic materials that breathe. I find they dry out quickly, and I'd rather have cool feet most of the time in exchange for occasional wet feet. My trail hiking shoes seem to dry out quickly once the rain stops. And I'm always wearing wool socks year-round, and just different thicknesses depending on the season. So even if my feet are wet, there's always still warm in the winter, and they're always breathing. Sometimes I worry that manufacturers just shrink their men's hiking boots and call them hiking boots for women, instead of making women's hiking shoes specifically for women like me. That's why it really is important for you to try before you buy, or else buy from an online company that gives a great return policy. The bottom line is, my favorite trekking shoes are whichever one I'm wearing on the trail because I follow the guidelines above and choose the right hiking gear for each particular adventure. And when you're in doubt, err on the side of extra support. On the website, I've got a video that'll help you test the strength of your own ankles, plus links to my Doc on the Run interview where we talk about ankle strength and what to do if you sprain your ankle in the wild. I consider that a must-listen episode. You don't think sprained ankles would be interesting? It's a really interesting interview. He does a great job. I've also got links on the website to recommended shoes, boots, and gaiters, and if you use my links at no additional cost to you, you're going to be helping to support this show. The costs do add up over time, so I appreciate that. And if you're going to get gaiters, like I said, are the little like fabric coverings that snap onto your shoes to make sure that debris, or to try to keep the debris out of your shoes. One of the more popular brands is the Dirty Girl, but please use my link because if you just Google that, you're liable to go to some websites you'd rather not see. So please use my links instead on that. I'd appreciate that. I'd like to know what you think. Where do you stand on the boot versus shoe debate? Write and tell me what shoes you prefer. I'd love to hear from you. You can always reach me at kit@activetraveladventures.com. I appreciate you listening. Until next time, this is Kit Parks. Adventure on.